Hello Tamers, drop back in today. Well, on to day 3 for decklist countdown towards BT22's release, with today's decklist being on everyone's favorite ultimate machine, Machinedramon. Well, going off the bat, this deck is definitely one with a very high skill ceiling, given its toolbox nature, but then again, it's because of that nature that we get to see this chimeric cyborg in action. And well, given the new EX9 support, it gets to be able to flex that ability, well, by being able to use the unplay of any source that you add on through its main effect. And as well, it gets to flex its final boss test as, well, given EX9 also had
Starting off with the egg deck. For my build, I end up going with full Demimurum at 5 eggs, with the lineup being the 4-1 split between BT15 Demimurum and BT3 Demimurum, with both being forms of being able to cycle through and establish pieces in trash. Demimurum being the most majority, as it's a discard a level 5 in particular for draw 2, and BT3 being a draw 1, trash 1 to also add on to consistency as draw engines. Though, if you want to go back to good old days of the black base, you can have good old BT7 Doraemon for the stack building build for the draw in response to adding sources. Though, alternatively, if you want to keep the early rookie rush aspect, you also have the promo Monimon as an option, being an on-delete draw 1 as long as you have a black timer on board. And that's it for the eggs. Now on to rookies, which, for the most part, as I've already hinted at already, is pretty built towards Rookie Rush, with one part of it being the Okamon core of BT16 and Promo Oko as means to draw through the egg deck and be able to get benefits as well. Obviously, BT16 Uko and its ability to search, and then Pro Uko being able to be memory efficient. And to round off rookie lineup, I end up going for full playset of the EX8 Siako for the on-delete draw 1 and trash 1 to also help with cycling. And since I also add in a little bit of stack building into this deck to spice it up, it also has the useful when attacking effect to get rid of any level 3 Digimon board as a means to get rid of any pesky floodgates that the opponent might have that may stop some of the other keywords that reduce your play costs. Though, for other options, keeping within purple, there's still some cadence to run EX5 Siako for multiple draws, and then discard. And then, within the same vein of getting rid of Floodgate rookies, Tsukaimon as an on-delete for your rookie rush early. Though for stack building, obviously you still have good old BT7 Dorumon as a means to pseudo search if you were to 4-star play it, but mostly you would want to play it for the inheritable to gain 1 memory every time you add a source to the stack, or good old EX1 Haguru to build trash, specifically Machine or Cyborg for draw 2, or also BT16 Haguru just to be able to search top 3 for Machine or Cyborg piece, Then also adding on a black tamer for the deck, from the deck. And then that's it for the rookies. Now on to level, really the only real level 4 that has cadence within the archetype, which for me is full playset of Promo Raremon, just for the ability to further cycle through the deck. With the on play on Digivolve to just simply trash a card for a draw 2. With a inheritable that also can come up, as it's another means to pop and establishing, well, popping mostly fully gate rookies, and as well establishing your level 5 pieces in the trash. That's it for level 4s. Now on to pretty much the meat and potatoes for the deck. That being a the level 5 lineup to build into Machinedramon. This one being quite bloated in all honesty. And starting us off, ends up being the main, one of the main forms of aggro, being the ability to unsuspend for multi-attacks. Thus, for this lineup, it ends up being a 2-2-1 split between the new EX9 Melmame, EX9 Megadraw, then the one copy of EX4 Makgauga. Since, for both Megadraw and Melmame, both can digivolve over from Raremon, given that it's also within colors. But they also can hardplay them at a reduced cost of 2 by simply trashing another Cyborg trait from hand, thus bringing them out at 5 cost. With Melmame's on play and 1 digivolving allows it to place a card from trash as bottom source to get rid of sources, then be able to further bot deck no source Digimon. Well, Megadra here is able to also place card trash from trash face down, to then delete 2 opponent's play cost 4 lower, with each face down adding 1 to the effect's cost maximum. And Makgao pretty much just being a mostly just for the unsuspended inheritable. Since going over that, going back in reverse, Megadraw's inherit allows you to unsuspend the stack gets under, while also being able to delete one of your own Digimon as the cost. Though, given what else is in store in the deck, that cost can also be a benefit. And for Melmame's, it's simply unconditional end of your turn to allow one of your Digimon to unsuspend. Then, from there, for battle tricks, for really bored reasonings, ends up being one copy of BT11 Meltarano, EX8 Meltarano, and also EX9 Meltarano as a full quartery of Meltarano lineup. And then 1 EX9 Andro, and 1 copy of Cyberdragon Ace as a form of removal in the stack. Since going the line, Meltarano mostly being able to get on play, so allowing you to suspend down 1 opposing Digimon for each, in our case, Black Tamer. Then one of the opponent's suspended Digimon can't unsuspend until the end of their turn, granting a security burn inherit. EX8 Meltarano being able to suspend down one Digimon on board. Then if if itself is suspended, de-digivolve one opposing Digimon, and until the end of their turn, their effects can't bounce this Digimon back to hand or bot deck, or affect it with de-digivolve, granting stack de-digivolve protection, as well as being another security burn effect. And to pile on, you have the new EX9 Meltaro that also reduces its own cost down to 5. If you want to hard play it by discarding a Cyborg trait, and then on play when Digivolve, allows it to place out a Digimon card from trash, face down, as bomb source, then hits one of the opposing Digimon with de-digivolve for each face down source it has, then deletes one Digimon with 3000 DP or lower on board, all granting the stack piercing, which in relation to the unsuspended rules, pretty much allows you to punch through most blockers. Speaking of that, Andrew here is simply being a blocker inherent, as well as granting another one of the EX9 cyborgs to also reduce its play cost, with the nifty ability on play one Digivolve to also place a Digimon from trash face down as its bomb source, to then hit opposing Digimon minus 3000 DP, and adding an additional 2000 DP for each face down source it has. While Cybertron here is the, as it's normally used, being the pseudo searcher / tamer cheat, as it comes down when it enters play to top deck 5 and play out a cost 4 or less black tamer from it, then immediately hits a Digimon with de-digivolve 1 if you have a tamer on board, and it grants the nifty remove inheritable to also de-digivolve on attack. And then continuing on from there, for board reasons, I run the one copy of EX9 Alteris mode, one copy of BT18 Daipen, and one BT18 Jitsilphi for their DP buff inheritables. Alteris being a plus 4000 on your turn, while outshining the old EX1 Melgray, and Daipen Jitsilphi for their alterns plus 2000, with the main idea pretty much being that those two are only for their DP buffs. Though with Alteris mode, given the new Machinedramon, you still get the 2 box of the ability to pop a 8000 DP or less Digimon. And to round off my lineup here, ends up being the Sec plus 1 Digimon, with Wargirl X and Volcamon simply being separate names just for their security plus 1 effects. Then also has another bell trick, being a very deep, long forgotten gem, being BT7 Melgramon, as you pretty much play it for the ability to trigger its own play via Machinedramon. But you also get a nifty inheritable to also gain back 1 memory whenever one of your opponent's Digimon gets deleted. Round us off is the new EX9 Melgray, which also can reduce its hard play cost by discarding a Cyborg, and grants the on play when Digivolving to place down a face down Digimon face down as bomb source, to then pop 5000 ZP worth of opposing Digimon, with that threshold increasing by 2000 per face down source the stack has. This being my take on it, you also have the good old other toolbox, as you have the other options for other toolboxing options, with BT15 Megidra still being a viable thing include. Just that, again, if you want to play into the new Machinedramons assemble, you definitely want to differentiate namesing in trash to make use for material. Though Megidra here would be an extra bit of searching, as well as adding on another source as being a Digivolve source. The older EX1 Melmame for the popping inherit, and also stack climbing to search. The old BT9 Megidra, mostly for its ability to pop either a cost 3 or less tamer or Digimon on board. Then there's the 1-2 punch combo of Gigadramon and Structured Deck Malgramon for that collision and gain 3 when blocked and hairable. Oblivionmon here for the ability to allow your attacks to pass through. Older BT8 Melgray for the inherent to simply run into anything that is unsuspended. And then the Suave of Security Burn with Canopymon, Vestmon, and Structure Deck Rapidmon. Although Rapidmon has an on-play, it definitely isn't something that can trigger through Machine Jaw, since it specifically asks for a green Digimon. And to round out this look at level 5s, there's also the cheeky BT19 Chimeramon for the ability to pop multiple levels, pop a level 3, 4, and 5s by dealing one of your own Digimon, including itself, in order to trigger its on-delete to delete a level 4 or lower purple Digimon in our case, to then cheat out a Machinedramon sitting in trash. The main idea pretty much just being Machinedramon Turbo with this, though in my own opinion it definitely pairs more well with the older EX1 Machinedra, since you don't really get benefits through checking out the new EX9 Machinedra. That's it for the level 5s. Now on to the start of the show. As we take a look at level 6 lineup. For the most part, it pretty much is the normal fair Machinedramon deck, though now with the new EX9 taking center stage at full playset, and then it being a 2-2 split between EX3 Chaosdramon and then 2 copies of Chaosdramon X, with the new EX9 Machinedra taking the show, being able to come out via its own assembly to reduce, pretty much having its hard play costs by taking 4 different named level 5 Cyborg traits, and then, with its on play when digivolving and when attacking effect, pretty much being another way to intake sources, as it gets to place another level 5 Cyborg from hand or trash as its top source, to then activate that Digimon's on-play effect as its own effect, also having all turns effect to protect itself from leaving the battle area by simply trashing the bottom 2 sources from itself to prevent from leaving. Then from there, Chaosdramon as a upgrade or secondary level 6 to go into, with it pretty much adding in up to 3 red or black sources from trash or hand, Cyborg sources from trash or hand to hit seeing one opposing Digimon with Digivolve to give singular instances of Digivolve 1, as well as also having a layer protection to also ditch 2 level 5s, up to level 5 sources from itself to prevent from leaving. And to be the cherry on top, to also culminate over the both of them, being Chaosdramon X, which definitely sees the further upgrade with the new EX9 Machinedramon, adding in its when attacking effect and when digivolving effect to itself, since it gets to take in all the effects of Machinedramon or Chaosdramon that's in its sources. As well, as well as being able to start main, also further intake more sources from trash as its bomb source. Then, as I previously said, that pairs well with the unspin effects. Whenever it would leave, when it would be deleted, it immediately burns one security from the opponent. Thus, on a very optimal stack of Chaosdramon over Chaosdra and Machinedramon, you have yourself a pretty powerful chimeric machine at your disposal to constantly wear down the opponent. And obviously, speaking of chimeric machines, you also have the option of EX1 Machinedramon for its, plays effect. Since it gets to come down, being able to come out, more specifically, and thus brings up the idea of Chimeric Turbo, since it would come out, and you'd pretty much gain back up to 5 memory, as long as you slot in 5 black or red sources, 5 black or red Cyborg sources of different card numbers from hand or trash, being able to alternate prevent itself from being DP reduced, as well as also having its protection effect. And that's it for the Digimon for the deck. Now on to Tamers. Well, given that it's Machinedramon, we have its very iconic partner with Analog Man, with me going for a 4-3 split between the old BT11 analog and the new EX9 analog to make use of new effects, with BT11 analog being able to pitch 1 to gain 1 memory and draw 1, as well as being able to redirect opposing attacks into your level 6 machine trait, most of the time Machinedras, and then also the new EX9 being the memory center for the deck, as well as being whenever it sees a play cost 7 or higher Cyborg or machine being played, it gets to suspend itself for a draw 1 and gain 1. Then you're able to place a card from hand face down as its source, as any source for your Digimon, thus having a little bit of flexibility. And depending on how board state looks, you may also be able to sacrifice that stack to further step trash later. And then, which also ironically fits, you also have the choice to add in EX1 Analog Youth as a means to start building trash, since Analog Youth would search top 3, then add a Digimon from among them, trashing the rest, also establishing a bit of recursion, as whenever it sees a level 5 or higher Digimon being deleted, you get to spin them down to gain 1 memory back and hatch again. And that's it for the Tamers. Now on to options, which for me ends up being a 3-2 split between attack of the heavy mobile Digimon and Supreme Connection, which with attack of the heavy mobile Digimon being able to enable you to hard play out your machine draws, while also granting them either blitz, first of all, rush when they first come down during your turn, and even if you do yield memory to the opponent, you still still have blitz, allowing it to immediately attack as soon as it comes into play. We'll also have the security effect to also set up trash by trashing a Cyborg or Machinedramon Digimon to then pop opposing Digimon with play cost less than or equal to than what you discarded. Also, Supreme Connection here being a search for the deck, revealing top 5, and then adding 1 Machine Cyborg trait from hand while trashing 1 card, and then bot taking the rest. Also having that effect as the security effect. Alternatively, you also could choose to run Ultimate Connection from EX9 to also help with the deck, since its main effect allows you to separate trash by discarding a level 5 Digimon at Cyborg trait, while also getting back pretty much netting 1 memory from this, and being able to draw 1. With the security effect, also triggering that main effect. And that's it for the deck itself. Now on to the combos.
Going into combos, starting off, for the mulligan hand, you definitely want to see your rookies starting off with Yukos to establish your search engine, and Siakos for rookie rush. Then from there, definitely want to see either analog mans in hand, just so that you have your options live, given the nature of the egg deck. With BT11 analog definitely being your main priority of seeing, as you'd want to establish that earliest as possible to get the benefits. Then from there, seeing either Rare and Supreme Connection to be able to filter through the deck, either by making stack over Siako, or with Supreme Connection digging through the deck. Then, definitely want to see either one of your Cyborgs to be able to be made use of through BT11 analog. Then from there, definitely seeing Attack of the Heavy Mobile Digimon, as it's definitely, something that isn't really searchable through your searching means. Then lastly, being the level 6 suite, as they're pretty much the main culmination of setup, with Machinedramon definitely being stronger for it, as you're able to, establish trash full of toolbox inherits and on-play effects that I could use. With that definitely up into Chaos X, given that it gets to inherit Machinedramon's effects. Addition, normal Chaos Draw being able as a means for extra draw, through just going over Machine Draw, and then the culmination into Chaos Draw X, if need be. And then going to the combo themselves. For the most part, you're pretty much looking at starting to, combo off once you start establishing trash and having a board established in terms of analog mans in the back. And then, pretty much, as previously seen, early game definitely being a means of chipping early, with the possibility of building a stack through Siako into Rare as the Cyborg bridge. Though with the main combo, the more main combos that we'll be looking into mostly involve, well, having those already singing trash, given that you've already, well, expended them in the other game. Since, for the most part, you'll be starting with 1 and having Analog Man BT11 analog active on board, while also having a established trash to work with as well. Since from there, start your main analog would then trash card from hand or gain 1 and draw 1, and then from there you'll be pretty much playing out Attack of Heavy Metal Digimon to start activating its effect by pitching away another Cyborg from hand for its effect to go live. And then from there, simply bring out Machinedramon through Assemble by allowing it by assembling the pieces from trash. With using 4 different named cyborgs, thus coming out at 6 memory. For this play, and then Machinedramon on play with trigger, allowing you to add a cyborg from hand or trash, and then immediately triggering its on play effect. It's definitely being the more flexibility part, as you're able to make use of all of your cyborgs, all of your level 5 cyborgs with on play effects, since they'll get to trigger their effect. And with the DM ones, you're able to use cards from, get to build onto that stack by adding on a face down. Pretty much being able to add a face down source, thus adding on to the stack itself by pretty much likely piling on a level 5 thing in hand that you want to see end up in trash. Since, for its own protection, Machinedramon is able to remove the bottom 2 sources from itself, which ends up being either face down source or any of your, and a cyborg source as well. And well, going from that example pretty much, with the main 1 to obviously memory choke being the BT7 gray to slide itself on top and triggering its own effect to then gain back to memory. Then from there, while in the effective Attack of Heavy Metal Digimon, since Machinedramon has sources now, it's able to then swing. And depending on how you build the stack, you have so many ways to, well, make use of that blitz swing. With the likes of the BT7 Green Herbal, threatening to gain back more memory if they choose to block, and then being able to pierce through if they do block, and having a sec +1 along with that pierce. In addition, you may also choose to make use of the Mega Herbal to attempt to self-detonate for the Machinedramon to protect itself. Since going from there, it's pretty much a matter of how you build up from that board state of Machinedramon. Since you have Chaosdra and then Chaosdra X as possible routes to go through, with Chaosdra X definitely being one route of, well, the OTK, as you'll be taking in all the effects of both Chaosdra and Machinedramon,
as well as working with the cheeky Altern's ability to burn away security as well. Since, depending on how you've built the stack as well, once again, there's also the chance of the OTK with the burn, security burn inheribles to work with. And even more so because Chaos Draw X also has the ability EX9 Machine Draw to be able to take in a source from hand or trash and use that source's on-play effect, thus making this quite a powerful ordeal, though once again you do run the risk of having Dio sort of ruin that, since you end up having to place it as the top source. Though, in cases such as that, you definitely look towards EX8 Meltero for its on play to grant your stack protection by pretty much self-suspending, well, being able to self-suspend, since that effect is can choose to trigger it as a on-play effect, a when attacking effect, rather than choosing the one Digivolve timing for it, thus protecting the stack from the Digi for a turn, as you pretty much also threaten with all the inheribles that you built up. Though another route to go for from here is the double analog combo. Has there, you pretty much are set to 3, and then for BT11's effect, pretty much pitching away Cyborg from hand to pretty much put you at 4 for the turn. And then this is where the M Cyborgs come into play, as all of them can come out at reduced cost of 5 by simply pitching away a Cyborg from hand to make use of them. So, case in point, say placing down Machinedramon by pitching away a Cyborg, thus coming down at 5. And then, in response to that, before triggering on play, using EX9 analog, since play cost 7 reduced down to 5 was played, you get to spend them down, gain back 1, draw 1, and then immediately slot in a Digimon, a Cyborg from hand as bottom source, then triggering the on play, and adding in another source as face down source, and then you're working with the effect with an added benefit of 2 face down sources to modify the effect. And then it's from there, attack of the heavy mobile again, pitching away Cyborg, all the while being able to Digivolve for 3 over your DM Cyborgs, to then start chaining from there with Machine Draw, being able to take in a source from trash, and being able to trigger its on-play effect. And from there, being able to, once again, pretty much threaten to blitz Actually, no, since splits is an on-play effect. But from there, it's pretty much playing around so much to establish a Machinedramon with at least one cyborg that you'd want to see end up in trash to start building up from there. Then from that, pretty much once again going into that OTK combo that ends up being built up from there. Pretty much seeing a Kyostra X. Pretty much having taken in a whole lot of inherits that best lead up into that combo. That being at least your DP buffs, security check, and then a form of unsuspension mostly in the form of Mega Draw, since it'll be able to proc the effect of Kyostra X. Since on a pretty stacked board, you have a number of means to pretty much face. Since Kyostra would proceed to swing, if need be, take in a new stat, another source. That swing off of Kyostra X's effect. And if they attempt to block, then they'll pretty much be dealing with the piercing, in addition to any of your security burn inherits. And then from there, piercing through with extra checks. And then make it a trigger, unsuspend, in response to it attempting to be popped, casting off 2 sources, and then being able to swing again. Thus ends up being where the OTK potential for this deck lies, as you build up a very versatile stack that constantly will weigh down the opponent as you run over most of the things they try to throw at you. And overall, that's been my look at the newly upgraded Machinedramon deck in the EX9 format. And I'll actually say this again, this deck definitely has a pretty high skill ceiling, as you are working with a lot of 1-ofs in this deck. Overall, if you manage to master it, you'll definitely have some pretty fun experiences as you work your way against many matchups to come. And that's been my look at the deck. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as we end off this countdown going into tomorrow. And this is Cyborg signing off.